Today we have a great topic because Father's Day is around the corner. Thank you for joining us today. My name is First Lady Alicia Ramsey.
John Ramsey Sr., and we're glad you guys are a part. We've been doing Family Room for a little bit over 2 years since COVID started, and it's every Friday at 12 noon. We have members that join in with us, as well as friends of the ministry, people that are maybe you belong to different churches, but you kind of support and watch the ministry. It's just a great avenue for us to be able to connect, to be able to communicate, and it's really the one of the few things that we have that we can directly be able to communicate. So as you guys come in today, you know what to do. Give us thumbs up, give us good morning, good afternoon, what's happening, something. Let us know that you're in the house, and then we're going to get started here as we move forward.
Yeah, I see Jackie was the first one in on the thread today. You still got to get them their t-shirts, right?
No, their t-shirts, they should have their t-shirts.
Did they get their t-shirts?
They should have their t-shirts. I was on top of that.
Okay, let me see. Jackie, did you and Marvin get your t-shirts that you won through Pastor Ramsey? I'll be trying not to
Family Room.
to do his stuff. Let him do that.
That was all. Tamika set that up, and
that was you that threw that out there.
Yeah, I threw it out there, but she got it all set for us like she normally does,
Okay.
and then it was just a matter of them picking them up.
Okay.
So
did they pick up? No, we haven't.
So that's on them. The t-shirts are done.
Did they know that?
Yes, they knew that.
Jackie, did you know that your t-shirts were done, and did you know where to pick your t-shirts
Did you try to play it like it's on me? Tamika called them.
Hi, Taiwan.
Because she had to get the size, she had to get everything that was necessary. So she got everything she needed from them. We got the t-shirts done. The t-shirts there.
I was asking Jackie.
No, I'm just answering for Jackie because I'm just telling you how it went. I'm just telling you how it went. That's all.
Hi, Lauren. It's good to see you today. Welcome to the family room. Excuse me. Hello, Nicole. It's great to see you. Natasha, welcome to the family room. Great to see you as well. So we are inviting everyone to be a part of the conversation today. Make sure you share. Tell someone. Hi, Dwayne Rogers. He says, good afternoon, Pastor Ramsey and First Lady.
Hey,
it's
man.
lunchtime and time for the family room.
Awesome.
Yes. Hello, Angel. Great to see you. So we are going to talk about fathers. You guys know how I am. I got this little piece of hair that's bothering me. We're going to talk about, Jackie says she got our sizes and we haven't heard anything back. So what you have to do is you just say, I apologize about that. We're going to make sure we get on top of that for you since we promised to get those shirts to you. So we will get that taken care of.
We'll get them to you Sunday, sometime soon.
Hello, Angela. Great to see you in the family room. So today we're going to be talking about Father's Day. How many fathers do we have on the thread today? So if you are a father and you're on the thread, make sure you put your hand up because we want to send out a big happy Father's Day to all the fathers that are on the family room today.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to that. So glad you guys could join us. Thanks for being a part of the family room. You guys are the ones that make it happen. So we appreciate you being a part. Really also appreciate you all spreading the love. Letting people know, your family, your friends, listen, you guys need to check us out. You don't have to be a member, obviously. You just have to be interested in growing in God and really just being a part of something that's going to be positive and impactful, hopefully. So every Friday at 12 noon, we are in the house. Most Fridays, we are in the house. And so we're glad you guys could be with us on today. We are just a couple of days away from Father's Day. Want to wish all the fathers happy Father's Day as we get ready to roll into the dad's weekend and so forth. So we got some things we're going to be talking about. We hope it'll be a blessing to you. If you are new, can you let us know, hey, this is my very first time being a part of the family room, so we can give you a little shout out and make sure that you feel appreciated and being connected today.
Okay, you're supposed to be starting our subject. I had already set you up.
Yeah, I know, but I was giving them more time, because you always tell me about time.
But we're 5 minutes in.
We're 5 minutes. Okay, so if you don't get it now, you're late then.
Great to see you. Great to see you, Marvin. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day, Ty. We asked all the fathers to put their hands up so we know they were on the thread.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, good afternoon to everyone that's a part. So what are we going to talk about? Happy Father's Day, Dwayne, to you as well. Happy Father's Day to Curtis Hanks, Stacy's husband. So
Curtis is in the house.
no, his
Or she
wife is
using,
in the
yeah,
house.
she's using this
Yes,
thing.
I was
Okay.
just saying happy Father's Day. Hi, Ashley. Good to see you a part on
Ashley,
the thread as well.
we
So,
see you.
Pastor, what are we going to talk about today for
Well,
Father's Day?
We're going to talk about the impact of a father's love
Mm.
and how it impacts the home, how it impacts the family, the marriage, and certainly how it impacts the kids. So all of us, everyone has different thoughts when they think about Father's Day.
Mhm.
Some people have mixed emotions because maybe their situation was not a great situation or a positive situation, or maybe they're in the middle of conflict of the situation,
Yeah.
and so forth. And sometimes it's that way on Mother's Day as well. But we want to talk a little bit today about the power and the impact of a father's love. And one of the stories that I wanted to give you is Mark chapter 5, that you can go back and read it, because it's got a little bit of meat to it. But here's a couple of verses I like to kind of launch us with this discussion today. And it's Mark chapter 5, beginning at verse number 35. While he was still speaking, there came from the ruler's house some who said, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" But overhearing what they said, Jesus said to the ruler of the synagogue, "Do not be afraid, just believe." King James says, "Just believe." My version says, "Only believe." And so the story picks up where Jesus is on his way back to the house of a synagogue official who had came to Jesus because his daughter was sick. Now, at the point that we pick up the story in verse 35, Jesus is on his way to the house with this ruler, and they meet him. All of his family members or his friends meet him and say, "Don't bother the teacher any longer. Your daughter's dead." And so Jesus looks at him and says, "Do not be afraid, just believe." And so now we got a dilemma here, because he's got to decide whether he's going to go off the information or whether he's going to go off the promises and the power and what he knows that God is capable of doing. And so what interested me the most about this story was just the fact that um, of all the different occasions that we see in the Bible, it's one that's showing the father going after Jesus. The father is pursuing Jesus for the betterment of his family, for his children, for his daughter in particular. And it wasn't the mother there. And that's not to say that she wasn't involved, but it really jumped out to me because when I thought about it, I said, you know what? But that really makes an impact. Here's a father that's not just seeking to make more income to help the family get by, but here is a father that's leading his family getting to Jesus. And now Jesus is on his way back to the house, and he's got to decide what he's going to believe. Am I going to go off, the facts, or am I going to go off the truth? The fact is that she's dead.
Right.
The truth is he's capable of raising the dead.
Mhm.
So he's in a lot of people call it a family dilemma, but you can also call it a faith dilemma,
Mhm.
because it's almost like Jesus was saying, okay, you got a fork in the road here. You got to decide whether you're going to believe reliable sources around you or whether you're going to believe me. And that's why he said, "Do not be afraid, just believe." And I think it's pretty awesome that several times in the Bible where Jesus, before he's getting ready to perform a miracle, he'll tell somebody, to believe, just believe. All things are possible if you believe. And I say that because we have all different types of settings and scenarios in people's families and homes nowadays.
Mhm.
And so all of us got something related to family that we got to learn how to believe for.
And I think that's a good text to use. I often use that for us in regards to Jeremiah,
Mm-hmm.
when there are times when you need God to help your unbelief. I believe, but at this present time and what we're dealing with, help my unbelief.
Mm-hmm.
And in particularly, we see in society today, unfortunately, a lot of marriages are strained
Mm-hmm.
when illness hits the family in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
I've heard testimonies of, when a sick child is born,
Yes.
it's difficult on the marriage. The
Mhm.
father may walk away, or when there is a child born with a disability,
Mhm.
the child may not claim the father may not claim the child with a disability and walk away.
Mhm.
Recently talked to someone dealing with cancer, a female. She was dealing with cancer. Her husband had a hard time with how cancer transformed her body
Mhm.
and walked away.
Mhm.
So this is powerful to see how this father leaned into the situation.
Yeah.
And sought what was needed.
Exactly. He didn't bag up off of the things of God. When there was trouble in his house, he ran to him.
Yes.
And I think that if we handle problems the right way, our problems can be the driver that brings us closer to God instead of being the excuse that separates you from God.
Mhm.
Because many people will say, well, if God this, if God that, then, why did this happen? Why did this happen? And I think that's really uh, a loaded question.
Right.
But I think a lot of times the answer to that question comes right back to us. Because the Bible says that God is able to keep that which He has promised unto that day.
Mhm.
He's able to keep what we entrust into Him, is what the Bible says. So the problem is, a lot of times when crisis comes, people want God to keep an area that they haven't trusted Him with.
Yeah.
So the question is not, can God do it? But the question is, have you trusted Him to do it? Are you believing for Him to do it? And what's the process you're taking to improve the situation?
And that is definitely the time you teach us that as Christians, where we show our level of faith, we
Mhm.
show our foundation in Christ, we show where our moral compass is. It's easy to say, I love my children, I love my family, I
Mhm.
love my wife. But what do you say when crisis comes? When
Exactly.
the testing and the trials come against your faith, against your relationship? And we hear it so often when people say, why me? Why me?
Mhm. Yeah.
Why not you?
Yeah, and that's what I pose to people when they put that out there sometimes, is why not you? And that was a thing that, because I used to do that, early
You
on
used to do what?
with Jeremiah. That was a question I used to ask myself a lot. I used to ask God from time to time, just sometimes within my head and sometimes verbally, God, why?
Mhm.
We're trying to approach marriage the right way. We're trying to approach the establishment of a family the right way, and then we have this situation. And the one thing that I really feel that God started saying to me eventually was that, why not you? Because I can trust you. I can trust you with trouble.
Yeah.
And so the question sometimes comes when we come in a family crisis, marital crisis, is, can God trust you with trouble? Can He trust you with challenges and things that are happening in your life? Are you going to duck and run like everybody else would, avoid the responsibility? Because
Mhm.
just like the movie Rain Man, we met the real life Rain Man. The mother took off and left the father after the son was born with all of those challenges, and she couldn't handle it. So we
Mhm.
see people.
Which is uncommon, but it is
Mhm,
possible because this
mhm,
will end. Unfortunately, I am seeing more mothers nowadays
mhm.
take off
Yeah.
and leave the children and leave the difficult situation, tapping out of parenting.
Mhm,
You fathers get a bad rap all the time
mhm.
in regards to that. And I think we do a good job, and we try to do a good job of sharing the fathers that are not tapping
That
out,
don't duck that
that don't
responsibility. Yeah.
leave.
And that's another reason why this story was important to me, because
Yeah,
it doesn't say anything negative about the mother.
right.
It doesn't say they were divorced. It doesn't say she didn't care, she wasn't around. It just doesn't give us detail on it.
Yeah.
And so it really jumped out to me, the fact that you got a father that's trying to do what a lot of women do, and that is trying to pull it from both ends, and saying,
Mhm.
okay, I got to be there for my child, but then also we got to meet these spiritual needs, and we got to do X, Y, and Z. So all of that was reason to really highlight the story and suggest that it's really a powerful.
Because one thing you say all the time is planting your seed in someone and producing a child doesn't make you a father.
Right, right. Having children that make you a father, is putting in the sweat equity, is being there. It's working the process. It's not, did you keep them clothed really well? Because there are people out there now that almost feel as if, okay, as long as, hey, I'm sending this money, my kids always clean every time I see them. We take them to nice places. I take them on vacations. They're with me a lot, and all of that. But sometimes it's a little more than that. Sometimes it's not just about those things. Sometimes it's about, are you there when they're sick? If you're in a situation that you can't
Right.
be,
If you're in the same home.
because sometimes that can have a lot of variables to it as well.
It just, and taking it outside. And I know it's difficult for some men to be hands-on when they're little bitty babies.
Mhm,
Like you would always say, that's not my cup of tea. Yeah, I saw where you transitioned into being more comfortable. Yes, you were present. Yes, you
mhm,
were hands-on. But that toddler stage, and when Johnny got involved in more
mhm,
activities, you definitely became more hands-on, because like it's like, okay, tag me in. This is my part right here
mhm.
with it. And I feel as if the sad part that you see nowadays, that some fathers are tagged in or want to be involved when it comes to their child being in athletics,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
but then after athletics are over, you know, the less than 1% that make it to the next level,
Mhm.
then what is your relationship like? Did it only revolve around a basketball, football, a baseball bat, you know, a
Mhm.
soccer ball? What did you have a track field to cultivate the relationship with your child?
You know what? The answer to that
Yeah.
is called time.
Yes.
Because after those things are over with, then people get an opportunity to see how engaged are you in that child's life without those
Yeah.
things.
But you know, one thing I saw with you and Johnny is you use that time to
Mhm.
still have conversations about other things.
Yeah, we all the time I'm driving them to practice, picking them up from practice,
Yes.
coming home from practice and all that, all those years, we talked about any and everything you could possibly think about. We weren't
Yes.
talking about, okay, how many times they're going to give you the ball tomorrow into the game tomorrow. And those were
Yes.
not the things we talked about.
No,
We
you weren't
talked
coaching from the stands.
We talked about, I said, I'm gonna let the coaches coach.
Yes.
There were a few times that we had to step in as parents because certain things, but
Right.
the coaches coached. And
Right.
we talked about any and everything under the sun. That's a
Right.
lot
Right.
of times right now. What I'm doing with Judah is I'll tell her when we're in the car, Judah, put your phone in your pocket. Put your phone in your pocket. I'll tell her that because and I'll communicate this to her, that if we're gonna be together, then we're gonna spend time together. I don't need your friends to be with us.
I
Put that
don't
in.
need you on a TikTok video when we swimming looking for swimsuits in
Exactly.
Target.
Exactly.
Put the phone away.
Put the phone up. And
Unfortunately, I can go ghetto mom in a heartbeat.
yeah,
I'm trying.
no, you're not. She's not trying. She's just letting it be.
But
but it's
you're
really
right. You're right.
really important that you got to do that because technology is robbing relationships with
Woo.
parents and their children.
Hand clap for praise.
And I think that's it. Yeah, there we go. It's robbing the relationships of parents and their children because the parents are cool if the kids are quiet in the car or what have you. I'm not cool when it's like that. I want to talk to them in that
Yes,
situation, and I
yes.
had to explain that to Judah, and I still do it from time to time, and to remind her, hey, if you're rolling with dad today, put it up.
And conversation is so important. Let me tell you, the conversation is so important. So when I took some of the youth to bowling last Sunday, I don't know what I was thinking because Lord, I was tired. But even the youth that were in my car from age, from Elise and Malaysia, but I had all ages. We had a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't sitting there with their face on the phone. What do you have upcoming this week?
Mm-hmm.
Malachi was talking to me about his schedule. I'm like, are you still going to, volunteer? Like conversation is
Mm-hmm.
important because you know what happens. Even children that are not your own, but they are involved in your life, they remember those conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the adult, the respect level comes in, Father, when your child knows you hear them. One thing I can say about our kids, they know dad hears them.
Mm-hmm.
They will talk from Judah to Johnny. They will talk to their father. And I'm not just saying this. They will talk to him about anything. Anything. I vividly remember we were out of town. We were at a conference and John Jr. was, going through puberty,
Mm-hmm.
Just those basic things. Judah and I are talking a lot about
Mm-hmm.
that. We were out of town.
In the mall.
He still got on the phone. He didn't have a cell phone. He got on the regular house line,
Mm-hmm.
called his father and said, Dad, I need to ask you a question. Our kids are
Mm-hmm.
good for that. Dad, Mom, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
And the conversation started.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you can tell, do they feel comfortable coming to you? Dad? You don't have to be in the home for them to be comfortable. My brother is divorced.
Mm-hmm.
He has 4 children. You remember when we went out of the country with him,
Mm-hmm.
his kids were blowing up his phone, asking all kind of questions
Mm-hmm.
while he was out of the country because of that relationship
Right.
that they have.
Yeah, and we have to be able to balance that as best we can as well. But you want them talking as opposed to not. And in order to have that, you got to be able to have basic conversations. So what that means is is
Let
not
me read what Candace says real quick, your point.
okay.
Candace says this: as a lactation specialist, I am big on educating moms to get dads involved in the early stages. Dads often feel like, how can I support if mom is breastfeeding and I don't do that, or I can't do that? A
Mhm.
lot of times moms quit or don't initiate it because of the feeling the dads have. And that's very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Nicole Crenshaw says this: when we have game nights, we have to put up all electronics and we can only play board games.
Yeah.
Those are excellent points.
Yeah. And there were some stats that I had too that I wanted to just give you a couple of them about kids that don't have fathers involved in their life. That about 63% of youth suicides
Mm,
don't have a father involved in their life.
mm,
90% of homelessness and runaway youth don't have a father involved in their life.
mm.
And you can go right down the list. Behavior disorders, 85% of those don't have a father there in the house. And so all of these things are really important. So it's because it's possible to be there, but to be absent
Say that again.
because you're connected to so many other things going out that you're not giving undivided attention. And this is something that I'm really big on. And I think it's really important. I talk to guys about it. I talk to young men about it and everything else. Put the phone away. Don't let the technology destroy the relationship that you could have had with your children because everybody's got their face in the phone.
And women, have the conversation in a loving way with your spouse, with your child's father, with your ex, whatever the context of the relationship may be, and help them to understand the importance of quality time, what quality time looks like. Because I know you may say, well, they should know what that looks like. A lot of people don't. Think about the generations of individuals who had an absentee father. You expect them to be something that they were not trained in or
Mhm.
don't even understand.
Mhm.
Some go after that understanding, some go after that training, but many do not. So
Yeah.
you're expecting them to emulate something or be something that they have. You tell me this all the time. There's no context there on how to go about doing that.
Right. Right. And we got to be able to give them context.
Have to be able to give them context and break the generational curses,
Mhm.
change the narrative, and lead by example. Allow bonus dad, allow grandfather,
Mhm.
uncle, godfathers to be that role that they may be missing, so the cycle is broken.
Exactly. You know, there's a young man that I'm going to spend a little bit of time with on this upcoming Monday. And he has a father and he has a stepfather. But here's the way that I always look at it. There's someone that maybe looks up to you or sees something in you that's appealing to them as a young
Mhm.
person, as a young man, or what have you. Take a little bit of time when you can, because I look at it as this. I'm secure enough in my relationship with all of my children that I love the presence of positive adult males in their life.
Yes.
If there are
Adult females,
guys
I
at the
love it.
church, if there are ladies there at the church and
Yes.
they say something to John or whatever, or there's a young man that's supportive of him every time he sees him. He talks with him. Hey man,
Yes.
how's school going? You know, I teach as well. I've been teaching for 20 years, whatever the case might be. Whatever you can give them that's going to be positive and move them in a good direction and really kind of reinforce the message that we try to give them in our parenting. I'm totally secure enough to be very not appreciative of that, because it sometimes does take more. You need more than one voice saying the same message. And when you have people that can surround that young person, you're going to be able to get that.
That's in the context of family has changed. And I know it is discouraging sometimes. I know it is disappointing sometimes. Share with your children, share with your young people what God has given them. He will be a father to the fatherless. You share that with us often. I'll give you an example. One of our little ones at church that was born at New Life, what is he, about 6 right now, 6 or 7. They were doing a project at school, like the family tree project, where you have to put like the grandparents and all that stuff in it. So he was discouraged and he came to his mom, who was a single mom, and said, Mom, who are my grandparents? Do I have grandparents? Do I have this? So she shared with him, and I was proud of her as a mother. She shared with him, okay, you have this, but guess what? God has given you pastor, first lady. Yeah,
Mhm.
like we're spiritual grandparents. Like God
Mhm.
has given you all of these people that fill in our tree.
Right.
And I said, you did a great job with that.
A great job explaining that.
Yes.
You know, I had people fill in my tree, the Arnolds.
Yes. The
You know,
Arnolds.
man, I slept over there. I was a lot, just
Mhm.
hanging out with them as a family on weekends and things like that on from time to time, or when our games and track meets and things like that were over, going back over there, gathering and hanging out with some of the guys and so
Yes.
forth. And the oldest son, Mike,
Mhm.
was great. Just being able to hang with him. So yeah, don't be intimidated or even bothered or irritated by that, but be prayerful and be encouraged in that. You know, tell somebody that's a positive role model in your child's life. Hey, I want to thank you, because sometimes when I talk to my son, he'll quote something that you said, and what you said was exactly what he needed to hear on that particular case. And I just want to tell you, thank you for taking the time to talk to him.
Yes. Marvin says this: Dre talks to me all the time, and if he wants me to keep it between him and I, most of the time, trust to me is very important, and I appreciate that. Pastor teaches this all the time. We talk about it all the time. You should not marry. First of all, you shouldn't date anyone you don't trust around your children.
Mhm,
We date with the purpose.
mhm.
And as you are looking to the future and as you're looking at your future, if you do not want to be a positive father figure in the lives of young people or children, do not date people with children.
Mhm,
If you are struggling with your connection with your own biological children,
mhm.
work on that relationship first.
Yeah, yeah. You want to be able to model it. Um, you want to be able to model it. You want to be able to have that picture in front of you. Don't just do it for those reasons because you want to date this new person or because you want to do X, Y, and Z, but just do it because it's right. And I believe that when you do that, God really honors it,
Mhm.
and He can accelerate the healing process with your children. If there's challenges there, He can accelerate that. We've seen Him do it. We've seen young people, because of things that their mother may have told them about the father,
Mhm.
really had a poison outlook on their father until
Mhm.
that child got a chance to get a little bit older and see some of mom's behavior for what it was and saw it herself. Then that child was able to come around and said, you know what, Dad, things aren't what I thought before. And all that can be done
Right.
without dogging one parent or the other.
Right.
But when that door opens back up, that's why that intimacy and that closeness with that child can be restored.
It is definitely important. Now that I look back, my mother and I were very intentional about making sure that my brothers had a good relationship with dad.
Mhm.
So once visitation and things like that, the boys, I got to a certain age where I didn't have to go if I didn't want to go. Now looking back, I probably should have went some of the time, but I didn't have a good relationship with the stepmother and some things like that. But I'm glad that my brothers kept that close bond with dad,
Mhm.
because as things got older, like literally a couple weeks ago, I had a conversation with one of my brothers about some things that we had protected him from. My mother and
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
had protected him from and didn't talk about with him, because I see now that was just very important
Mhm.
that they had a good relationship
Yeah.
with dad. It was so important. Now I see, I needed to have a good relationship with him too. And when you have a strong male figure in your life, I did have a strong grandfather and I have amazing uncles. So I had a lot of positive male figures in my life. But taking the time to understand the importance of that relationship is vital, because
Mhm.
you can't be, you tell us that a woman, you can't be man, mom, and dad.
Yeah.
You can't.
Some try, but you can't.
You
And
can't.
you just got to go off the fact that God is going to honor your effort as a mother.
Mm,
God's going to honor your effort as a father.
mm,
He knows your intentions. He knows what you're trying to do. But you know what? Sometimes we put things on ourselves that the Bible doesn't even put on us.
right.
You know, if you're a woman, if you come off of a divorce and let's say you have two children, so now you're doing the single parent thing,
Mhm,
there's nothing in the word that says that you have to make up for the deficit of someone who's not doing their job.
mhm.
You just have to be faithful as that mother. And that's where we got to do more than quote it, but we got to be able to trust that God's going to be a father to the fatherless, which in my interpretation means that He will send the people in our lives that we need to have, that will give us what we need, so that it eliminates excuses for not getting to where God wants us to be in life.
That's good. That's very good. Angel says this: Same thing happened to me when I had to get my marriage license. I had no idea the information they were asking about my dad because he was absent. I had a complete meltdown in the courthouse. Never knew it bothered me to that degree.
Mhm.
You know, sometimes people would like to say, I don't know, my dad, it's all right.
Yeah.
It bothers you. It's not all right. And then what
Mhm.
I'm finding out is so we all become adults and you go to your mother or your grandmother or the individual who's raising you and you ask questions
Mhm.
and nobody wants to answer the questions.
Yeah. Yeah. And some families just like that. It really
It
is.
is. And it's important, especially if you're listening to me, if you're 50 or over, when your children come to you about conversations, you need to have these conversations.
Yeah. Because it's really important because like my oldest brother Pete, we talk off and on quite a bit. And Pete will say things to me like from time to time, well, our cousin so and so passed away in Miami, but he won't always remember that. I don't know him. I didn't
Right.
know him because I
Right.
wasn't born down there,
Right.
and I don't have that information
Right.
that some of the older siblings have.
Right.
So when I get that information, of course, it's disturbing, but it's just different because I don't have that reference with
Or that relationship.
them. Hmm.
And on the flip side, remember when I said my brothers had that relationship
Hmm.
with my dad and my dad's siblings?
Hmm.
My relationship was strained because I literally picked a side.
Hmm.
And I picked my mother's side. So we went to a family reunion several years ago. My dad was still alive. It was a lot of people that didn't even know about me. And I'm the oldest. But my brothers were at everything. My brothers went to the family reunions. My brothers went to everything. And
Yeah.
I never went to anything because I really put this line. I loved my father. We just had a different relationship. I put this line there that I shouldn't have put there. And that's what you're even saying. There are people you didn't know,
Hmm.
you didn't have a relationship with. So we have an opportunity to be different, do things different.
Yeah. So like for me, I have to depend on my brother to kind of educate me on some of those things that I didn't get from my mother or my father.
Yes.
Hey, this is so and so, and some of them may have told me certain things, but a lot of he is one of those that really knows a lot of in depth about the family. That's why even when mom passed, the first thing was they got to do the program and all of this, that, and the other
Yes.
because they know all of that stuff. So those things are important to know.
Yeah. Nicole Crenshaw says this: I thank God that my great uncle stood in the gap for my absentee father. My uncle did such a great job that I never understood the importance until I saw my husband and daughter's bond. I will
Mhm.
always love my uncle for that.
That's awesome.
Isn't that awesome? And you welcomed that
Love
and
it.
you were open to that
Mhm.
and you saw what God put in your life and sent there to you. Because what I have seen too is over the years that you have stepped in to be a father figure for some, but there's some young men, they don't even understand a
Mhm.
father's love, a father's instruction, a father's
Mhm.
training. I
Mhm.
remember telling the young man one time, I was like, he's talking to you the same way he talks to John Jr. You
Mhm.
need to understand that you said you want him to be a father figure in your life.
Mhm.
Well, you have to accept this is what it means.
Yeah. And there are young men that John called me. John Jr. has called
Uh-huh.
me over the years. You've seen that.
Yes.
I said, "Hey, Dad, I was wondering if you could reach out to this young man and maybe you could have lunch with him or something and
Mhm.
talk with him or whatever." And we have. And a couple of those young guys, I stay in touch with them a little bit off and on, and they'll reach out to me from time to time. And some of them come through church as much as they can. So it's great to have all the support that you possibly can.
Yeah.
And I think that the biggest thing to um, celebrating this weekend
Mhm.
is thanking God for wherever you are.
Absolutely.
Just thank Him for wherever you are. You know, Father's Day doesn't have to be a sad day unless you want it to be.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a depressed day unless you want it to be.
Right.
Um, I didn't have all the best situations. I didn't have all the best experiences.
Mhm.
I love my parents. I know they did well by us and they worked their tails off and they gave us everything that they could. There were things that I wish I hadn't experienced, I hadn't seen. It's just because certain things you can't unsee. But at the same time, I know how to pump the brakes and say, wait a minute, man, yeah, I remember this, I remember
Mhm.
this, I
Mhm.
remember this, and
Mhm.
we had a ball doing this.
Mhm.
And so overall, I mean, I just thank God for just family in general.
Yeah, focusing on what you
What's
did
right about the
have,
family, but not what's wrong with
not what's wrong,
it.
and not waiting until it's too late
Hmm.
to do that. Taiwan says this: my difficulties with my kids is that they don't respect me, especially at the age they are now. Now I've never was shown the type that disrespected towards my mom and talked back to her. I was always the calm one. Now my mom is the opposite of me, and yet they give her all the respect, regardless of what she does to them. They have this entitlement mentality towards me. One only calls me when she wants something, and the other don't call at all. They also don't know that my wife comes first after God. I truly live the order that God ordained, which is God, man, woman, and children. Now I am in line with God, so I don't allow him to put things with me, but I tried to teach my children the right way of life, but they refuse to listen to the structure that I've tried to give.
Yeah. Well, the remedy for that is called time.
Yeah.
Remedy for all that is called time. That has to be the thing that you allow God the space and you the grace that it takes to work on those situations. It's very
Right.
similar to what I said earlier. Kids are so smart, and
Yes.
at some point in their life, they start seeing what time it really is.
Yes.
You just got to trust that that time is going to happen. And I realize that that's not easy, but it's necessary. That you have to be at a point that the only way you're going to have peace is if you just get to a point where you can rest in the reality that time is going to show these young people what time it is. And at that point, their heart is going to be wide open towards fixing or establishing that relationship with the other parent.
That is really good. That is definitely good. I've shared with Ty that, many of times. My name is First Lady Alicia Ramsey, Pastor John F. Ramsey Sr. If you're just joining us for the family room, we're talking about a father's love, getting ready for Father's Day. And before we go any further, happy Father's Day
To everybody.
to you.
Three buttons.
Amazing father. Happy Father's Day to you. You are a phenomenal father.
Thanks.
But I knew that from the first date.
I'm gonna be a less financially stable father at the end of tonight.
Well, you're going on a daddy-daughter date, and that's kind of cool that you scheduled that for this weekend
Yeah.
to have that. But happy Father's Day to you. And I'm just saying that sincerely. You really do strategically and intentionally do everything that you can to give your children a well-rounded experience as to what their relationship should be like with their father.
I do my best. Thank you.
I tell them, I said, Lord, you got to live a long life. I tell you that all the time. I said, I don't want to raise these kids by myself. But I also say that because I know their attachment to you and how difficult that would be, for them, especially at this young age, to not have you in their life. So no, I say that intentionally, that you are an amazing father.
Thank you.
And you do a great job. But I was saying before that, and then your hands are freezing.
Take your temperature. Make sure she's not sick.
Why
She's saying all these nice
always
things.
so cold?
I really don't know.
And you have a jacket on.
Because we're in the basement. It's chilly here.
But you are always
You know
cold.
how old people are always cold. You notice that?
That's not had nothing to do with it. You are always freezing and always
I'm cold a lot.
Yes, definitely. Oh, look, Lauren says daddy-daughter dates are the best. Just wait until Judah gets older and she will be paying for you.
I'm gonna be praying about that.
And she will. No, she will.
would.
She is a giver.
She would.
Yeah, she definitely is a giver. This is a good one. Ashley Howard. Ashley says, I lost my father at the age of 12. I only started having a relationship with him when I was 9. It was the best years ever because my mom never talked bad about his absence. Even after he passed, I always just been thankful to have that short amount of time that I had with him and enjoyed every second of it. Let's give her that.
Ashley, this is what I got for you today. This is especially for you.
What a
because
and Ashley's young too. She's in her early 20s.
Because that's the perfect attitude to have.
Yes.
She is wrapped around what she got, not what she missed. And because of that, even though her time with her dad was limited, look at the impact that it still has. And I just wish so many people could grab a hold of that same mentality that she has. And I wish that parents would not dog out the other parent to
Don't.
their choice. I think that's one of the worst things you could ever do.
Yeah, don't do that.
I think it's a
Don't do that.
violation of scripture. You're God's standard for parents. You know, he talks about woe to those that will cause one of these little ones to stumble. You
Yeah.
do that when you dog out their parent.
Yeah. And God honors that. He definitely honors that for you. And you and I have done that over the years. We've made sure
Mhm.
that we focus on what we do have, what we did have.
Right.
The blessings that God had gave, you know, we know our fathers, we had a relationship with our fathers, you know,
Yeah.
that's the things that you need to focus on, especially on Father's Day.
Mhm.
Connie says this, my dad made an impact on not just me and my brothers, but to my cousins as well and our friends. I had a guy tell me that his own brother looked up to my dad more than his own dad. And
Mhm.
that made me feel so good. I miss my dad, wish
Mhm.
my grandkids could have met him. Marvin says this, you're a great man, Pastor. I talk about you all the time. I'm 54. I admire you and all that you do. Thank you for being my spiritual father.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you, man. You guys are the best.
And that is great to understand that. So for this Father's Day, make sure any father figure that is still alive in your life, reach out in some form or fashion to let them know how much they have meant to you, what they have sown in your life. Don't wait
Mhm.
until the funeral to get up there and say all these amazing things about them and what they did. Do it while they are still here.
You know, I think that's important because when mom was here, when mom was alive,
Mm-hmm,
I tried to show that to her as best I could
mm-hmm.
and communicate it with her. And you know, when her funeral came, I had just determined I wasn't going to do anything at the funeral. I wasn't going to say
Say
anything
anything,
or
right?
nothing like that. But I hope that, you know, my actions spoke.
They did.
And I think those things are just so important for everybody.
Same thing at my dad's. I didn't
Mhm.
get up and say anything.
Because she had already did the
I
talking.
already did the talking. I planned it, made sure everything was in place that needs to be in place. But
Yeah, and that's not throwing any rocks at anybody that did. Of course, you want all of that to take place, and you put
mm-mm.
these people in place, hopefully, to be able to give comments and so forth. But I think that, man, when your conscience is clean, um,
That's
you
it.
can walk away from their passing with a sense of peace. There's
Oh
no
my
question
goodness.
about it.
You can. You can. Rondre says this. Good conversations today as we're talking about fathers. I must say that.
Thank
Very
you.
good conversations today.
Size 12, Andre. Size 12, Jordan's retro. I prefer retros, low cut, low tops.
Rondre, did you see those shoes I had on Jeremiah for his graduation
They were
day?
banging. She didn't tell me about those shoes, Andre.
I bought them 5 years ago. They
Get
were
out.
5 years ago, literally. I bought them 5 years ago.
And you just broke them out the box.
And I had them in the box and I had them put up every time we would move or something. I took them with me and I kept them.
And you were waiting for that time.
I was waiting for his day.
That is awesome.
Sure did. Bought them 5 years ago. Rondre says this, resentment and anger keep me from repairing the relationship with my father for years due to his absence. Luckily, I had an uncle that stood in the gap while growing up and talked to me as a young man.